If psychology and pop culture had a baby, they'd call it Shrink Tank.
A new paper reveals more intelligent people are quicker to learn and unlearn.
90% chance that there's some weird animal out there. Yeah.
Stern's been doing this forever. And far more extreme. From Nashville and Charlotte, this is the Shrink Tank Podcast. Welcome, everybody. If you're joining us for the first time, a very special welcome to you. And if you're coming back for more, thanks so much for joining us again. I'm Dave Verhagen here in Nashville. We've got a great show for you. Our trending topic today is the royal wedding. We'll talk about that soon. But first, let's meet our Charlotte panel. Dr. Emma Kate Wright is here. Emma Kate, I want you, since we're going to talk about the royal wedding, and I will go ahead and tell you it's something that I have no interest in. Is there something that you have been excited about in your life that other people just don't give a crap about?
You mean everything? Sorry.
Well, it's true. I get excited about really ridiculous things like internet videos of cats and other stuff like that. But I think the one thing that I was so excited about that everyone just thought I was ridiculous over was when I got a staple gun. Because
we were fearful. That's what we were.
Because I learned how to reupholster seat covers, and that was a really big deal for me. And nobody else cared.
Are you like 90 years old?
So,
did you major in home ec?
I did, yes. Baking, love it. Yeah.
Do you have a quilting circle?
I don't. I was doing cross stitch and needlepoint, actually.
Yes, you were.
Were you looming?
No, I don't know how to loom. Wish I did, but I don't.
Well, you also heard Dr. Frank Gaskell, who's with us. And Frank, how about you? Anything that you have been really excited about that everybody else in your life doesn't care about?
I don't think so. Other than maybe really nice collectibles that people call toys and dolls, but they're collectibles.
Toys.
So they're not toys.
Toys.
So stop.
Toys.
So stop. They're collectibles.
Toy.
Okay, I'll just stop on that. Thank you, David.
Yeah, all right. Well, and also Jonathan Hedderly's here. And Jonathan, how about you? Anything that you've been really excited about that no one in your life shares in that joy or excitement?
Well, I don't know if it's everyone, but unlike, let's say, Frank, I care about civil rights and the poor and minorities and social justice, things like that. So, but no, for the longest time, and I've actually outgrown this, I saw every Transformer movie like opening weekend in IMAX 3D, and there's really no justification for that. But I'll readily admit, Transformers, they're called toys, so at least I'm rooted in reality. Like I played with these collectibles as a kid, and boy, were they fun. So
I am not bothered by this
at all.
Nope.
Now, what about you, Dave? What's something that excites you other than chili dogs?
I love a chili dog. I do.
That other people don't get excited over.
Well, I'll be honest. I get very excited about new magic tricks. So. I do.
Magic.
I buy my magic tricks from a site called Penguin Magic, and I'm on their mailing list. And I will say, okay, I will not buy another magic trick until I master the ones I just got. And then they'll send me a little email, and I'll click on the link, and it'll go to a little video, and I'll be like, "How did he do it?" And then I buy it. And so it's kind of my magic videos are sort of my porn. You know, it's like I can't resist them. But yeah, no one else cares. No one else in my life really cares about magic or magic tricks, but that's my deal.
Yeah. I feel like I'm listening to what everyone else said, and I'm like, I have no interest in what you just talked about.
Well, the difference is you probably weren't even listening. You drifted off. So,
yeah. See a rogue squirrel.
Yeah.
Well, each week, Jonathan trolls the internet for us, and he finds a great story of psychology in the news for our first segment that we call
Being Human.
So listen up, Emma Kate, because I'm going to ask you what you think about this. The question of, are you more of an optimist or a pessimist? So Clifford Noss, a professor of communication at Stanford University, claims that while some people may have more of a positive outlook, almost everyone remembers negative things more strongly and in more detail. And he cites physiological as well as psychological reasons for this. Noss claims the brain handles positive and negative information in different hemispheres. So negative emotions generally involve more thinking, and the information is processed more thoroughly than positive memories or emotions. And a professor of social psychology at Florida State University named Roy F. Baumeister, he and his colleagues note that losing money, being abandoned by friends, and receiving criticism will have a greater impact than winning money, making friends, or receiving praise. So Emma Kate, would you generally say, are you more of an optimist or a pessimist? And what do you make of this research?
Well, to answer your question, I am definitely an optimist, but I think that's because I have experienced a lot of negative things, which for listeners who have not heard, I have had cancer, I've had a broken engagement, my house is burned down. So it's like there's a lot of things.
And that was just last week.
Right. So there's a lot of things that have happened. And obviously, all of those things were very salient in my mind. And so despite having all of that, I think I kind of react in a different way by trying to be optimistic and say, well, things have already gotten that bad, can't get any worse. And then I tend to be proven wrong.
Then you're in an earthquake.
Right. But so I do think there's a lot of validity to this research in the sense that our brains are wired, the article mentioned this neurological basis for paying attention to negative events. And that's because evolutionarily speaking, our brains were wired to pay attention to things that were negative, that were dangerous, so that we could survive. And so if we weren't paying attention to the dangerous berries that we shouldn't eat, then we would die and our genes would not be passed on. And even just thinking about basics of, praise for parenting, it takes 5 positive comments to outweigh 1 negative comment. And I think it does really speak to just how we process negative information a lot more intensely.
That's why
I'm screwed.
Right.
Yeah, five positive comments from parents to 1 negative. Frank, how you doing over there?
Yeah, doing great.
Go ahead, Frank. You go.
I think what this tells us 2 things. It proves my genetic 23andMe in that I'm more than 98% Neanderthal. More than 98% of other people, I am a Neanderthal.
That's what I got out
I'm
of
a
this
survivor
research.
because I look for the negative. And if Emma Kate were out in Africa in the plains, a snake would bite her because she'd be walking around going, "Oh, snakes are fun. They're fine. There aren't any snakes here," and she'd die.
I think I'd die for other reasons.
This is
probably.
cool how Frank made this all about him.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
When do I not do that?
Yeah, that's true. I think for me, like I feel like I am somewhere in the middle between pessimist and optimist, but leaning toward optimistic. And I think I think my inclination is to look at the bright side of things, but I also get what Emma Kate's saying, that our brains are inclined to look for the bad things because that's how we survived, right? We look for danger, we look for things that aren't going right socially, whatever, and it just helps us adapt and survive. So it makes sense.
I don't tend to ruminate over negative things so much as I do find myself replaying if somebody is upset or angry with me. That gets under my skin, and that bothers me much more than, let's say, there's financial stress, or I did poorly on an exam, or I'm stressed about those things that bounce off me pretty quickly. But
Hetterly, I'm upset with you.
Well, I guess I have to care about the person
Right.
in order for it to impact me.
But that is surprising given your sense of humor and how you often will dig in and find that line. So you could probably
I don't
make
find the line. The other people find the line. And
Okay,
they let me
well.
know when I've crossed
Yeah,
it.
that's about right.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. All right, well, let's move on and let's talk about our trending topic today, which is the royal wedding. And I already said this. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't give one crap
Magic
about
trick.
it. No, I don't give a magic trick about it. I don't care one thing about the royal wedding, but I think we're going to have a mixed bag here on the panel. Emma Kate, do you care at all about the royal wedding?
Do I care?
Oh, no.
I am
your tone alone
so
was upsetting.
excited for this wedding. I woke my butt up at 4 a.m. when William married Kate Middleton, and I fully intend to watch as much of the news coverage as I can on Saturday morning. So I am so excited.
God. Huh.
Frank.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see the two houses fight, expecting to see a tremendous bloodbath, all set up by Tywin Lannister. And we're just going to take everybody out. And so I will watch for that reason alone.
So Game of Thrones is what you're expecting.
That's the only thing that would get me to watch if it was the Red Wedding.
Got it.
That'd be sweet. Jonathan.
I think weddings in general are overrated.
Yes. Absolutely.
For those of you that some of the colleagues here might remember us attending a wedding of one of our colleagues, and it took everything in my being to not turn it into a farce. I was so bored, but it was so comical in so many ways.
No, you turned it into a farce.
I really think the more like important or serious something is, the more there is of me of wanting to make fun of it and turn it into a farce. So the idea of waking up for anything at 4 a.m. just sounds ludicrous to me.
Well,
Much
I'm the
less
same
for a
way.
wedding.
I'm the
Yeah.
same way as you are about anything that is very formal and very traditional and very where you have to like be on good behavior and maybe dress up. For me, I cannot contain myself. Like I always get flooded and laugh inappropriately.
Even when you and I are at a funeral.
Yes, Frank and I were at a funeral of someone that we cared about a lot.
Very deeply.
And was important to us. And we literally got shushed multiple times in the funeral because I was so inappropriate. Like I was doing that like quiet convulsing laugh where your head's just all bobbing and shaking and your forehead's all sweaty and all that. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was chirping.
Yeah, we were
little
making
peeps.
little chirping noises and convulsions, and so yeah, I'm totally. So that's what I want to ask about the royal wedding. I know this is a big deal for a lot of people. In our staff meeting this week, people were talking about how they're going to get up at 4:30 in the morning and watch it. Someone else is going to watch it on tape delay out at Centennial Park, where they've got a big screen.
Oh my gosh!
And they're going to have live
Amazing.
music to accompany it, and they've got all these big social events.
How
And
many male coworkers and colleagues are doing this?
Let me count them. There's none, zero. So it might be a gender thing. You know my whole thing about the gender test. That Three Stooges is a gender test. If you like Three Stooges, you're a guy. If you don't,
I love
you're a girl, right?
Yep.
And there's some, but this might be a gender test. But Emma Kate, can you explain why you and other people are like super duper excited about this?
Well, so I don't know if I can explain because I think it's different for everyone, but I'll share for me, these sorts of really big events only happen a couple of times in a lifetime. So we've been, I'll share my connection with the royal family was I remember waking up on a Saturday morning, and it was when Princess Diana passed away. And
I think she was killed. I don't think she
Right.
passed away.
Yeah.
okay, so she was murdered by the paparazzi, whatever you want to call it. But I remember that really affecting me. And I was really young, and I had seen all these glamorous photos of her. I'd seen photos with her and William and Harry. And I just felt so tremendously sad over what happened. And then it was kind of that moment moving forward that I was really curious about this family, and I wanted to know more. And then it's just been, that whole fairy tale sort of thing where it's like, wow, like you could marry a prince and how amazing would that be? But at the same time, like I do like some of the traditions. I think, the fact that this wedding is open to the public there's a lot of political stuff that's involved with this, with Brexit and, the monarch is the symbol. And so I don't know. I think for me, it's more of that escapism where, there's so much garbage going on in our world right now that it's nice to think of, oh, well, some people could have a happy ending and it could be a really nice thing.
Well, I got to say, Emma Kate, I'm excited, very excited for you to see this wedding, and hope you experience much joy and happiness in watching what I believe to be a eating disorder, possibly borderline personality person marry a injured man who's still dealing with the grief of his mother, but feels the familiarity of Princess Diana's borderline personality disorder and is so marrying mommy. And I figure we'll go maybe 7 years and a poor lonely child later.
Well,
enjoy while you can, please.
I feel like I moved ahead of Frank in line to get into heaven. He definitely went to the end of the line.
I don't even know what to say to that. Wow, just rip him a new one. Jeez.
That's Dr. Frank Gaskell, psychologist at large.
I'm just basing it on a kind of really bad childhood, lack of a father, another failed marriage in her past. So yeah, I'm sure this is going to work. I can get behind this.
I thought he was talking about himself for
Right?
a moment.
It's like, wait a minute. Wait a tick.
Until he said like a divorce, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I feel like we all need to.
I think we all need to reach out to our loved ones and say, I love you.
I know.
Well, I can tell you this. How about this? We'll shift gears. Many people don't know this, but we can credit the royal family in 1840 with the marriage of Queen Victoria to Prince Albert, which is just funny to say. They created the white wedding dress.
That is a true fact. I did know this fact.
Okay.
Yep.
Back on track, Emma
Frank's
Kate.
not lying.
Enjoy your morning.
Well, but hear me out, though, because this is a really cool moment for Americans. Okay, we've got this American actress who, there's some issues with gender.
Actress, let's put it in quotes.
Okay, but, there's some issues in terms of gender where she's quitting her job to pursue being a philanthropist with Harry. And there are a lot of people that feel bad about that.
I couldn't. Okay, I'm sorry.
Shut up.
Please keep going.
No, stop talking. Listen, because it is a big deal. And the fact that she's biracial is also a really big deal. Her mother is Black, her father is Caucasian, and essentially, this is the first time. The monarch has historically been extremely racist, and we have gotten a little bit more information out of the Netflix show The Crown, where they highlight a lot of that. And so, I think there are going to be some serious challenges that Meghan Markle is going to face in her relationship. So it's not to say that some of the things that you said are not insane, but, there could be some truth somewhere in there. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see, but it's better to be optimistic, Frank.
Well, absolutely. And I think the fact that she's biracial, moving into a very racist home, is another pillar of strength to this marriage. So I'm with you.
Why do you say it's a racist home?
Because she just said the monarchy was racist.
I've said they have. Well, I don't remember exactly what I said, but basically, historically, the monarch has been very racist.
Well, maybe they will change their tune.
In a lot of ways, this marriage is set up like a Hallmark movie. Because you have an American, biracial, been divorced, like all of these things that in those types of fairy tale films would be just red flags for a country or royalty welcoming her. So, that part definitely fascinates me, but not enough to watch a wedding. For me, it's really more about the headlines and seeing in the coming weeks, months, and years. Because, man, when you look back, and I was too young to know about this in real time, but all the stuff that Princess Diana went through,
terrible,
was just, it's horrible, horrific. So that part does interest me, but I feel like that's that part of my brain that other stuff like reality TV or the Kardashians, it's almost like interest in a train wreck versus like genuinely caring about them. Like I don't not care about them as humans, but I have very little interest.
I watched The Crown on Netflix mostly because I knew my wife wanted to watch it, and I thought, well, we'll watch it together. It'll be a show we watch together. And I loved it. And I, to be honest, have had no interest in the royal family, but that I think just gave me a little bit of a peek inside this experience. But even with that, I think it's a fascinating family, but I just don't have any interest in this whole experience of of Prince Harry marrying somebody. I don't care who it is. I mean, he seems like a nice guy, and I don't know anything about her, but it just doesn't. It has no interest. So, Jonathan, let me ask you psychologically, why would somebody be interested in this kind of thing? And I'll ask Emma Kate second, but you first. Why would someone who isn't interested, or why would someone be interested, I guess is the question.
Well, I mean, I think we're wired to be curious about other people and whether we see it as something that's inspiring or, and I don't mean to say this in a manner that may seem dismissive, but it's like it could easily be equated to like a fantasy, like somebody that follows and dreams about playing in the NBA. They feel like they have this relationship with professional athletes in the same way if someone's really dreamed of like living a lavish life or being exposed to those types of royalty and things of that nature. I could see how that would be really appealing, and you'd build this emotional connection very, very at a very young age that like Frank continues into adulthood, like with his toys, you know?
Right.
Oh, that's a callback, I believe. Thank you, Heatherly.
And so, like, and I don't mean to dismiss it because I don't have that relationship, but I can remember growing up and wanting to be Michael Jordan, or idolizing athletes and even celebrities and musicians, and perhaps other people build that type of emotional connection, even if it like my brain could not compute that in the slightest iota.
So you picked Michael Jordan and not Jackie Chan?
Well, I am Jackie Chan. Why would I want to be who I am, Frank?
Okay.
Emma Kate, do you have any more insight psychologically about why people are drawn to this kind of thing?
I mean, I think I'm pretty much in agreement with what Heatherly was talking about in the sense that it truly is this escapism. And, if you've grown up, at least for many females, getting married is a very big deal. It's something that a lot of women look forward to. And, to become a princess, it is kind of like a Hallmark story where literally, Prince Harry had this, trauma with the loss of his mother, and he really was quite the party animal. He had that reputation for a while, caused some scandals in the royal family, and so it's nice to see him mature and try to settle down, and again have that happy ending, that fairy tale ending that I think people just want.
Yeah, the other element that I think I can relate to is it's a real life soap opera. So you think about why soap operas have not only survived but thrived for 30, 40, 50 years. It's because people build relationships with characters or real life people, and they want to watch the arc of their lives and dysfunction and drama and catfighting and all of that. And outside of like soap operas, fictional families, royalty is the only other real life like parallel that I can think of. I mean, the American equivalent would be like the Clintons, the Bushes, or the Kennedys, real life people that have power and prestige, but there's also a lot of like privilege and drama, dysfunction and stuff like that. So some people, again, may watch it just as much for the train wreck that they kind of don't want to happen, but are kind of curious to see if it does happen. Like I could easily see Frank wanting to find out, like, are all my predictions true? Like, does this turn out to be a train wreck?
We'll do that podcast in about 6 years. Trust me.
Do you have more insight, Frank?
No, not particularly. I mean, I think they cover it. I think it's this fairy tale that exists in reality, and it's really the only place to see what appears on the outside to be a true fairy tale.
So that idea by itself isn't appealing to me. I know for me, when I've made a connection with somebody that I don't know who's famous, almost always it's been around talent. Like when I think about, there probably have been two famous deaths that have really moved me. One was River Phoenix, another was Robin Williams, and the connection was around the loss of their talent and loss of them and connected to them around that. And when I think about which actors or musical performers, it's really about that. So this whole idea of like connecting around some fantasy or fairy tale is something I don't connect with or relate to. Do you think that that's like, what is that psychologically for somebody that makes that very appealing? And Jonathan, you said this is not just a male female thing, because guys can do that with athletes or with others that are more aspirational for them, as far as like, that could be me. What is that?
I mean, I almost wonder if it has anything to do with that sort of positive psychology, optimism, hoping to get out of the muck of your own life and make more of yourself potentially. And so, for Jonathan Hedderly, his example of wanting to be Michael Jordan, or for Frank wanting to be a ballerina, or for others, it really is just
was a male
one
prostitute.
Of those things where, and Frank, there's nothing wrong with that. I just need you to know. So
Yeah, there isn't. Frank.
But in all seriousness, it is about trying to better your position in life, wanting to move forward and to make progress, whatever that looks like. And so I think it's about that optimism piece, that hope for the future.
I don't think with the fairy tale thing, it's a reason why I'm not interested in it. The whole because
I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's like.
But for you, it's because life is a tragedy.
Right.
So.
Yes. Because, you seek out what you know. But the fairy tale, even Disney, Cinderella, Snow White, all that stuff, it just kind of grosses me out. Because
it brings people joy. Even
what Dave's saying, talent, these people don't have any talent. It's just blood. Okay, go ahead. It just doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, and I think that I get what Dave is saying in terms of he has this connection and feels this loss and grief over somebody's talent that he's no longer going to be able to appreciate and enjoy. But for some people, they make a connection, simply an emotional connection. They feel like they know them. They feel like when a celebrity or someone else has something positive happen in their life, there's a small morsel of them that celebrates with them. And when they hit adversity and hardship, it really negatively impacts them as well. And I think part of that can be role models. Part of it can just be people's inherent need and desire to connect on some level. And I think celebrities and people that are on the public stage, a lot of times there can be certain aspects that we crave a connection with those type of people.
Yeah, that is. Well, we wish them well, right, Frank? You wish them well.
Yes, and let's hope that in another 6 or 7 years, just like Charles and Camilla had to appear before the church, they had to, quote, speak and acknowledge to their manifold sins and wickedness. So let's just hope they don't have to do that.
I will watch that. That I will get up at 4 a.m.
I would do.
Watch.
I totally watch that.
Answer for your sins.
Because we are an audio only show. The death look in Emma Kate's eyes is piercing.
It's called a resting death face.
RDF.
Whatever.
When will Frank confess his manifold sins and wickedness? That's my question.
That is a full series. That's a season. That's not one episode.
That's a Netflix season. Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, if you have questions or comments about what we're talking about with the royal wedding, we'd love to hear from you. You can write us at feedback@shrinktank.com. We'd love to hear from you. And our final segment is something that we call our doctor's orders. These are things that we're personally enjoying in popular culture. And Emma Kate, do you have anything to recommend?
I do. For those of us who enjoy the royal family, unlike my co-host here, HBO has a documentary called Diana, Our Mother, Her Life and Legacy, and it includes interviews with Prince William and Prince Harry, as well as other family members, and it's really just a nice reflection on her life and gives you a little bit more insight for people who are interested in the royals. Check it out.
Ugh.
That's Frank's review. Frank's review is that.
I don't know if we've ever shown contempt for someone else's doctor's orders.
And I've given some ridiculous doctor's orders before, so
We're just going to skip right over Frank and go to Jonathan.
Well, back in January, I had the pleasure of seeing comedian John Mulaney live when he was doing his tour for his Kid Gorgeous stand-up routine, and it is now dropped on Netflix, Kid Gorgeous by John Mulaney. It is very funny. If for nothing else, you need to listen to his bit on comparing our current president to a horse being loose in a hospital. I think it is comedy gold.
It is hilarious.
I'll tell you this. My wife and I listened to the special on the way down to Memphis, and then we listened to another one of his specials. Then we were like, hey, we're on a roll. So on the way back, why don't we listen to other comedy specials? And we turned all of them off after 5 minutes. It's like he ruined us because the specials were so good. Also, there's a bit about Detective Bittenbinder that is pretty hilarious as well. All right, my recommendation is something that I'm kind of late to the game, and I haven't recommended this yet because I just have finished this. But I watched season 1 of The Handmaid's Tale, and I'm going to tell you, it is one of the best shows I've ever seen. I know that we mentioned it briefly before, but I'm just going to recommend it now that I've gotten through the entire season. It is essential viewing. It is a great show.
Would I like it?
You would love it.
It sounds like Downton Abbey.
No.
It's not?
No, you would love it. I guarantee it. I got it on.
Frank,
where'd you get that
just go play with
idea?
your toys, okay? Just go play with your toys.
I mean, it sounds like it's some PBS show.
Yeah,
No.
It is.
Okay.
Frank. It's
All right.
PBS.
I'll check it out.
I'm telling you, I'm not going to be wrong. You're not going to come back here and go, I hated that show. You're going to be like, that was something else. That was a good show. Yep. Probably one of the 10 best TV shows I've ever seen.
What?
Yep.
All right. Okay, that's fine. I'll do it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Shrink Tank podcast. You can check out shrinktank.com for great articles and videos about all the things we're talking about and a whole lot more. You can also find links to our Doctor's Orders products. You can follow us on Twitter at @shrink_tank and like us on Facebook. Please do that. For questions or comments, write us at feedback@shrinktank.com. Our producer and theme music composer is Sean Beck. Our associate producer and social media manager is Mariel Butler. For Emma Kate Wright, Jonathan Hedderly, and Frank Gaskell in Charlotte, I'm Dave Verhagen in Nashville. Tell all your friends about us and make it a great week.